Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Ready, Aim, Retire. I'm Rob Kirvan, your host, where we talk about everything retirement related, your legacy, and just numerous topics in between. Am I right, Tony?
Yeah, we've covered the gamut.
We've covered a lot. We've covered
Everywhere, everything from the dating game with you and your wife,
yes,
finding out how well you two really know each other, to market volatility, to market reviews, to IRAs, Roth IRAs, how to plan for retirement income. We've had a lot of great topics.
we have a lot of great guests, but I do
yeah.
like it when it's the OGs, Tony, just me and you.
I
As
do
s-
too.
So this show is going to go out on Wednesday, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, Tony. So I thought that we should do today something that is kind of out of the box. You can probably let's see what we got here. Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. Very Thanksgiving-y, right?
Yeah, look at that. We're going to talk about a cornucopia of
Yes,
of ideas today, aren't we?
yes, we are. Yes, we are. So we're going to talk about today. Everyone's going to have gatherings coming up, for Thanksgiving, getting together with family and friends and neighbors and things like that. We're fresh off an election, so I want to cover today the do's and don'ts of Thanksgiving gatherings. Let's have some fun with it. Like something where, I'm just going to go through. I printed a real nice list here, Tony. And sometimes, these are the things, but sometimes it takes someone saying them. And I'm going to say them today. And we're going to figure them out together. Sound
That's
good?
great. That sounds great. The do's and don'ts of a Thanksgiving gathering to help
Right.
our listeners out there. I'm sure our listeners have big family gatherings they have to go to with the in-laws and the outlaws. And
For sure.
what are the do's and don'ts?
Well, here, let me tell a story first of why
Okay.
I'm thinking of this. So when I was a kid, we used to go to Thanksgiving at my grandfather's, and my grandfather's, and it was a big family. So they had 7 kids, and then all the kids and kids. But there was my Uncle George. So my Uncle George, I remember this from the time I was like 8 until, 20. And he would always sit there and he would drink. He would bring his own beer. He'd have it under the table, and he would pour that with Bloody Mary mix. And he used to always say to me, he called me Robert, who is former Robert, you can never get drunk at Thanksgiving if you mix it with the tomato juice. I'm like, oh, okay. I was 8. And needless to say, on the drive home,
I love that everybody has that uncle, right?
I know. And the drive home, I remember my parents would always be like, oh my gosh, George was a mess tonight. So it doesn't work, folks.
So he would give you this advice: if you mix it with tomato juice,
Right.
and then he's telling you this when you're 8, and then
I'm 8.
you'd hear your parents talk about how drunk he
Right.
was by the end of the night.
And I always race to sit beside him because, as you can imagine, if he's doing that, he's a character. He's like, there's always that guy at the gathering that you kind of want to be near, the storyteller, the joke teller, whoever it may be, because they're just entertaining. So I sat beside Uncle George. Easy decade of my life. I had dinner beside Uncle George every single year. So it's
That's awesome.
He was a good dude. All right. So let's get into this. So we'll do a do, and then we'll do a don't. So the do's, the first one, folks, arrive on time. So you got to respect the schedule. If you're going to be late, shoot them a text. Say I'm going to be a little late. On the flip side of that too, Tony, is we do a lot of client events. Don't show up an hour early. That stresses the heck out of the people holding the event. Even I would say a half an hour is still like that. You're in the stress zone on even a half hour. Anybody who's had people over, you're running around.
You're still vacuuming. You're running around, putting up decorations.
You're doing
still
everything.
being prepared,
getting ready for showtime. So arrive on time, but don't get there too early either. Sit in the driveway, sit on the street.
Smart. I'm glad that's a don't. When you first said arrive on time, I'm like, and if you want to be 5 minutes early, that's great.
Yep.
But anything beyond that, is actually you might want to sit in the car a while, because you mentioned client events, Rob, and I have a funny story from recently. I've been to a couple client events this year for a couple of advisors that are friends of yours, Bill Altman,
Oh, sure.
Anthony Kangemi, and Corey Sickles. And
Mhm.
at Anthony Kangemi had an event, and it was a big event, probably 180 people,
Okay.
right? That he invited. His staff is frantically trying to set it up. There's a theme. It's a casino night, and they kind of went with tropical dress and theme, like, wear Hawaiian shirts and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're getting all this stuff set up. The food hasn't been brought in yet. And we got there 2 hours early to set up. I would say an hour and a half before start time, this older couple shuffles in,
Never fails.
looking around. The table for the name badges, where's the check-in? Well, the check-in's in an hour and a half. So they're the nicest people, though.
Right.
But it is funny, and the older you get, especially when the majority of your guests are already retired,
Yep.
they're looking forward to this. They're like, let's head
sure.
over there. There might be
Right.
traffic.
Yeah,
So they
yeah.
leave
And they're
3 hours early. So
And they're not trying to do anything like,
no.
underhanded. It's just like, hey, they're just getting there super early. It's just like,
But for a Thanksgiving, that's great.
I like the 5-minute rule, Tony.
Yeah.
The next thing is don't arrive empty-handed. Even if it's potluck, bring something small as a gesture of thanks.
Yeah.
So don't arrive empty-handed. And to go along with that, Tony, I would say bring a host gift. If it's not at your place, you're not doing any of the cleanup. You're not doing any of the stress that Tony and I are just talking about. So a small token. You can bring a bottle of wine,
Sure,
flowers, maybe a homemade dessert, something like, something along those lines that say, hey, thank you for having me over at your place.
Yeah, that's nice.
Pretty easy, right?
That's a good do. Yeah.
Here's a good one, Tony. I don't know if you've ever been in this boat. Don't critique the food. Even if it's not to your liking, just keep that negativity to yourself.
Yep.
I've
Never
said this
comment on the food.
turkey, this turducken is not what I expected. You ever? No? Okay.
I've heard. I've actually heard people at the Thanksgiving table. I have relatives that have said, not on my side, of course, on my
no,
wife's side.
No.
Boy, the turkey's dry this year, and they
Yeah.
weren't the ones that made it.
Right.
Like,
yeah. You can't say stuff like
and really, the people, if you're making the turkey and you're making the meal, don't apologize for a meal either. Like, sorry, the turkey's so dry.
right.
Maybe
Right.
some people like it that way. Just pass the gravy around an extra time rather than mentioning.
That's all you
it,
need.
right?
You just need a little top off.
Need a little more gravy. Yeah.
Right. Gravy never hurt anybody.
More gravy on the poutine right there.
Right. I grew up
Rob.
on gravy. You know that.
Yeah.
But that's true. That's true. Like, yeah, don't apologize for you've just done this massive thing. And everyone who's ever hosted knows it's an undertaking, right? So the next do, Tony, how about we help out where we can? Whether it's clearing the table, if they have appetizers, clearing that out, putting them in the dishwasher, see if you can be of help. Some people say, no. I don't want, you're good just to go enjoy yourself. I'd rather do this myself, but at least extend that branch to say, hey, you need some help with this. Nothing worse than everybody at the end of it just getting up and like going into the living room with all the plates and all the stuff. And, they just magically disappear or something.
I was with you on everything you had said in the show up until this one.
Oh, okay. Why?
You actually want me to help? I can't just go into the. I have to do dishes and help clean up. It's not my house. If it's my place, yeah. But if it's not my house, I'm going to go head into the living room to watch football. You know that. I mean,
Tony's off my list.
Yeah,
I'm coming to Thanksgiving next year.
Right.
Tony.
You should always offer, and I always do. I'm just kidding.
I know you are. Here's a big one for this year, especially, Tony. Don't bring up controversial topics. Under that might be something like politics.
No.
Years ago, I remember saying to my sister, she's a Facebooker, and she does all these political things, right? A lot of people do, and that's fine, right? But I remember saying to her, one, you're never going to change anyone's mind if you're on the opposite side.
No,
so
right.
All you're going to do is agitate. When you bring up these topics, they just agitate. And everyone's entitled 100% to their opinion. But I would say at Thanksgiving, leave that in the car. Let's not talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody wants an agitator, and that's all it's gonna do.
Right. Right.
And why would you wanna be that person, that's gonna
Right.
bring up
Why do you
we
want
all
to?
have our views, and you have your principles, and that's great, and, I wanna support people in their views, but Thanksgiving is a time of family and togetherness and being thankful for things, not bringing up things that are going to agitate people.
100%. I totally agree. Next one, do be grateful and polite. Compliment the food, thank the host, express gratitude. Again, they're hosting a big thing. Some could be 10 people. Some of them are like, I had a client in the other day, Tony, that she does this gingerbread house making thing, and she invites like family and friends and neighbors. She makes beforehand 40 gingerbread houses. Can you imagine 40? And then they come in, they decorate them, and it's like a whole, just a gathering to get people together. But can you imagine, so you think of the work involved, and
That's a
I
lot of
walk
work.
in there and go, you know what? I thought mine was going to have a chimney. You don't need someone like that in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true, and that's amazing. People do put a lot of work in, always
yeah.
be complimentary, and yeah, I mean, we have some big family gatherings. We've had as many as 16, 17. Our house is actually too small, so for that many, when we get up to that many, so
Yeah.
we go over to my brother-in-law's house, my wife's brother, his family. They have a beautiful house for entertaining. So yeah, I think that's great. But always offer, and we try to rotate who hosts. So
okay.
Somebody doesn't always feel obligated. Now there are, my brother-in-law and his wife, they like to host. They love to cook. She knows she's a good cook. She's proud of it. So I'm always like, Sarah, why they love to do this? Why would we are not good cooks. We not have the best house for entertaining large groups. So yeah.
Yeah, no, but so is that what we do every year? You go to their place?
Typically, we sometimes have it. If it's smaller, like 10 or less, we can have it. But if it's like 16, 17 people,
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm borrowing chairs and tables from neighbors at that point.
Right.
I mean, that's
whoever gets to the table first gets a seat.
Yeah, the kids' table is out on the deck. I don't care if it's snowing.
Right.
Yeah, we've a sliding patio door right off our kitchen and a deck, nice deck.
Yeah.
But the kids' table's out there. I usually end up at the kids' table. Somehow I get sat at the kids' table. Can you imagine that, Rob? Why would
the
that
entertainer?
be?
Right. Yeah.
Why would they sit me at the kids' table? Think about that. I mean, I'm at the height of maturity. I don't understand.
Makes no sense. Next one, do not overindulge, Tony. Whether that is, I'm sorry, whether that's food or drink.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So you want to kind of keep in the right spot. And just don't take it to the next level.
Yeah.
As far as that goes. But how about this is what I tell my children all the time. I tell them, engage in conversations. Be a good guest by chatting with others, finding out what they're up to, finding out what their life is doing. Totally.
Don't find a quiet corner and just disappear.
Right. Or sit on your phone, right?
Right.
No. Chat. These are people you don't see every day, obviously. See what they're up to. Find out what's new in their lives. And hey, you know what? You're going to learn something.
Yeah, I tell my son, we always had to tell my son, leave your Nintendo Switch at home.
Oh, yeah.
And my daughter, who got the full ride scholarship, why are you we realized she's bringing a book into the house to the Thanksgiving. He's got a DS and she's got a book. We're like, oh, wait.
Might carve out a couple chapters between.
You're bringing a book. She's got Stephen King's The Stand. It's that thick. She's bringing it to.
How about that? The next one up, Tony, on that exact topic, don't use your phone excessively.
Or bring a book.
Right. And I always say to my kids, I'm like, be where your feet are. So when you're on a phone, it's like you telling everybody, you know what, I have better things to do than be sitting right here. Like I'd rather be surfing this, looking at people that aren't here. It makes zero sense to me.
I'd rather be watching strangers on my reels or my Instagram
Right.
feed than talking to my own family.
Exactly.
And that's not good.
That's not good. And you know
No.
what? Like phones in general to me are just terrible. Like
Yes.
we've gotten to the point of we could do a whole show on that. We're not going to do that today, folks.
No.
Like, but yeah, you know what? Check the phone, put it in your pocket, leave. If you're really bad, leave it in the car. You know, if you know, I make my kids leave it in the car. So every year we have a Thanksgiving, what would I call it? We have Thanksgiving dinner and all that, but my kids come in from out of town, and my daughter that plays golf in Nebraska, she brings one of her teammates that's from Italy, so because she has nowhere to go. So last year was her first year, and when they come, they like to go out on Wednesday night. I believe they call it Blackout Wednesday is the term. So they go out Wednesday night, but I sign everybody up for the turkey trot at 7 a.m. on Thursday morning.
We do that.
So we do the turkey trot. Everyone's up. They're not happy, but we get the blood moving a little bit, and then we have all the neighbors and friends back to our place for like Bloody Marys and breakfasty kind of stuff, and that's kind of how we kick it off. And whether we, have dinner or not, but with that one, they're not allowed their phones. You're not allowed your phones at the turkey trot. You got to just kind of grin and bear it, and you're not allowed it when everyone's coming back to our place. It's exactly what I'm saying. Talk to people. A lot of, my daughter lives in New York, only comes home a couple times a year. So see what people are up to.
Yeah. Force them to socialize in person, because a lot of the younger people today don't.
No, they don't. They don't even, I could text you all day, every day, and we have laughs. And then when I see you in person, we can't even talk. We can talk a lot with this, but we can't talk.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I force them to do the same thing. I say no phones,
good.
No phones at all. So the next one, this is probably a good one for you, Tony, actually. This is Tony Shore, guaranteed. Share the spotlight, Tony.
What?
All right. Let others talk about their experiences and stories.
Are you talking? Is there another Tony you're talking to? I can't.
Don't dominate the whole conversation. I can see, folks, if you've listened to this show for the last few years, you can picture Tony holding court with like a group of 6 or 8 people around him and just tell him joke after joke. That's happening 100%. But at one time, pass the baton, Tony. Let someone else. You'd be like, Ned, do you got a joke to kick it? No, Tony, you're okay. Then that's free. Then you can keep on going, but
you sound like my wife now. She always tells me before that, now, Tony, you have a habit of interrupting people or talking too much or taking over the conversation. Don't do that.
Right. That's a good one. So, folks, share the spotlight. Let other people talk. Let the shy people get in there once in a while,
Yeah,
even
I'm restraining myself every minute, Rob, right now. I even had to interrupt you there just to let you have your let the shy kid, let Rob talk.
Right. How about this? Don't ignore the dress code. So dress appropriately for the occasion. I could tell you so many times, Tony, like we've come downstairs. Like this year, we're going to like a neighbor's place for Thanksgiving. They're having a big barbecue kind of thing. And I can guarantee you that one of my daughters, possibly 2, will roll down as we're getting ready to leave in like sweats. Like 100%. Like I just know I'll warn them several times over the previous day, but like, no, that's going to happen. So just dress how you would go to like a nice family dinner that people are providing the food,
Yeah.
Now, if they say, it's track pants and t-shirts, well, then that's the appropriate dress code. It's track pants and t-shirts. Everyone's kind of different. I'm definitely not a suit guy, so I'm like rolling in like that, but I'm probably wearing some halfway decent.
Yeah.
Let's see. That's a good one. Oh, here's respect dietary restrictions. So if you have restrictions, just letting the host know. Now I'm up in the air. Like, are they supposed to change the menu?
Yeah,
because,
I don't know.
Abby, my daughter, has celiac, so we literally carry food. We always have like different food for her just in case she needs a bun, because no one has like a gluten-free bun, because no one wants one, Tony. They're not very good. Like,
no,
they're not good at
terrible.
all. They're terrible. So I would imagine Natalie will bring that on. So I'm not sure. I don't think I would do that one, folks. I don't think I'm calling the host as they're stressing out about making this beautiful Thanksgiving meal, saying, you know what, by the way, I can't have anything gluten. So hopefully we have two different kinds of gravy. Like at our house, we have to make two different kinds of gravy, and but we wouldn't expect anybody else to do that. Hopefully. Oh, okay. Here's a good one for don't force participation. So if you bring Tony by, you probably don't have to worry about this one. But if someone doesn't, you know how like I don't know if you guys do like games and activities.
We
We do
we
games.
do.
Yeah. So and then some people don't like to play the game, and Natalie 100% is guilty of this one. No, you have to play the game. This is the best game ever. It's if you've never played it, you're gonna have the best time ever. No, I'm good. No, but seriously, you have to. So maybe don't force it.
My
So
wife's
let it sit
family
out.
does this. My wife does this too. My
Yeah.
wife Sarah does this. Same as Nat.
Yeah.
She will. We're gonna have these games, and she has all these games lined up. And I'm like, honey, that's 5 games. How long are these people gonna be? Each one will take over an hour. We're not. No.
Right.
And they're not all. And everybody has to play. I'm like, nope.
The only one that has to play in my place is my children. I will force them.
Yeah.
But guests, hey, if you don't want to play Pictionary, you don't have to play Pictionary.
Pictionary.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like Natalie's the same. There's a whole lineup. There's yard Yahtzee, Tony, where she has dice that are this big in a bucket. So because she wants everybody outside.
Oh my God.
Roll in the bucket of like yard
Yahtzee.
I think she called it Yardsy or something, but like, yeah, it's
that's funny.
There's a lot of those kinds.
That's a new one on me.
It is. And obviously bingo. Any client that is listening to this, that was at our summer event, like bingo, Natalie spoke on it. Our family just loves bingo, like loves bingo.
I've been called in to host bingo, be the caller. I've done that for client events for other advisors where they've called, hey, Tony, we'll fly you out here, host our bingo. I'm going to be doing it for Nick Jones. And I have fun with it.
You'd be great. You'd be a great caller. I was a struggle bus on that. Participated traditions. So again, that's the game thing. So if they like to play the game, participate, to the best of your ability. If you want to sit out, that's definitely your option. Don't forget children's needs on a don't. If your kids are present, be mindful of language, topics. This goes back to my Uncle George story. If they were mindful of this, maybe they wouldn't let me sit beside Uncle George for a decade.
Giving drinking advice to 8-year-olds.
Yeah, I loved it, but they may want to just move me around and just watch, some of that adult conversation if you have little kids. And a lot of people listening will have grandkids. So you don't want to, like I always say, you don't want them to grow up too fast. So maybe don't participate in that. Oh, here's a good one, Tony. Know when to leave. Nothing worse.
Huge.
Nothing worse. I've been guilty of it. I've 100% been guilty of this one. Like, oh, they must want me around. No, they don't. Like they want you. They want to go through the night. They're exhausted. Whoever is hosting Thanksgiving, and everyone listening have probably hosted at one point, and it's it's the stress. It's all of those kinds of things, and just don't overstay. You see people start to leave. You don't have to be the first one, but don't be the last one. You find that sweet middle spot. Where. Oh, you know what? And they're like, Rob, you should stay. No, you know what? We should go. You're saying I should stay, but you don't really mean that. You mean like, okay, let's shuffle it along. But
I've got a good one relating to that. I've got a story. My mother-in-law, and I feel I can speak freely. She's not listening. My wife, I don't know if my wife listens to the show or not, but I'll find out now.
Yeah, you will.
My mother-in-law is horrible about that. And I mentioned Tyler and Chris, my brother-in-law and his wife, host a lot of these family gatherings, Christmas, Easter, and Thanksgiving typically, or one or two of the three at least. And my mother-in-law, if we go to her, we give her a ride because they live on the other side. They're like an hour away. So we give her a ride. She doesn't drive. And so we're in charge of bringing her. And we know Chris does not, when they have the dinner, we play a game or two. And then you don't sit around and talk. She wants you out.
It's time to get moved.
And she will actually get up and say, well, she will kick people out.
Oh my!
Yeah, the earlier the better it ends. Sometimes right after the meal, she's ready. So, but my mother-in-law will just sit there. Well, no, I want to stay for a while. And we're like, nope, we need to get home. And Sarah will say, we got to get the kids to bed, when our kids were younger.
Sure.
And Artis does not want to leave an event because, and I feel for her. She's going back to her,
She's got
independent
FOMO,
living
there's lots of
apartment.
action. Right. There's lots of action. Yeah, I could get that. But
but every gathering she overstays. And especially when she used to drive herself, it was terrible. Like she would ask, can I spend the night?
oh,
Unannounced.
Right.
Seriously.
So now you just fireman carry her out of there. 7:38 or whatever.
We just carry her out to the vehicle now. But no, that's a bad one. Do not overstay your welcome. I'm very conscientious of that because people, you're right. People are over it at some point.
They are. And it's so true. You got to put, and if you've ever hosted, you've hosted, I've hosted, most people listening have hosted something like that, whether it's Thanksgiving or some sort of gathering. It gets to the point where you're kind of over it. You're just kind of like, oh my gosh, like get that last person out of here. But a couple more here, Tony. Follow up with a thank you. So someone goes through the trouble of hosting. You have a great time. You get to see people you don't get to see too often, which is fantastic. Next week, shoot them an email, handwritten note. That always is a good one. But something, or give them a call or, however your relationship is. But follow up with like, hey, thanks. That was an amazing time. Thanks for hosting. Thanks for going through that. Because the person doing that, they had probably a stressful day. You probably had an easy day, but they had a stressful because anybody doing it, they want that turkey to be perfect. They want that green bean casserole that someone say, wow, that's the best green bean casserole I've had. They want all of those things. Like that's why they're slaving over all of this stuff. Right. Yeah. So just shoot them a thank you of some sort, let them know they're appreciated and let them know like, you know what, we appreciate you hosting because we know the work that's involved. All right. How about we'll end with this one, Tony. Don't leave a mess behind. And I know we tried this earlier with Tony and that didn't hit home with him. But again, don't leave a mess behind.
Help clean up.
And so if there's anything you can help with, and again, the people hosting, they're driving the boat. So some don't, they're like, no, we got it. But sometimes when they say we got it, they really mean, just want you to grab a plate and come on in here and I'll show you where the dishwasher is. Like because Natalie will say that. No, you guys just enjoy yourself. And there's a stack of plates like this high. I'm like, how's that going to work? And
it isn't.
No, it's not. So make sure you tidy up. And that kind of ensures your invite for next year. If they're like,
good point.
That person's not doing a good job. But there you have it, Tony. Do you have any others to add?
I just have one last thing that I wanted to say because this happened to me. This happened to me just last Thanksgiving. We have one person, my wife's sister on her side of the family she's very organized. She's the planner.
Okay.
And she takes control of everything and plans it out. So she sent out invites to everyone saying, hey, it's bring your own dish. We're going to, kind of a potluck.
Sure.
And then here's a list of what's, needed. Just list what you want to bring and then make sure we have checked off all the needs. And my wife got it and I got it. And so it's like kind of odd, usually it's per family, but she sent me one. So I just wrote, people who know me, I wrote pizza. Like, what are you bringing? And I put pizza. Well, then Sarah gets a call
there we go.
from her sister going, well, I talked to Chris and Tyler, and they said even though the turkey will be in the oven, if Tony brings a pizza or wants to make pizza at their house, there'll be a rack for the. And I'm like, can you tell her? And Sarah's like, he was just joking. He's not bringing.
You have to bring the pizza. They're like, wow, we never thought of that.
It's a Thanksgiving meal. I mean, they're making a huge turkey. My wife already said we're making this stuff. I forget what we were making, but we brought a bunch of stuff.
Sure.
And then I just put on mine just because they sent me one. Right. I just put pizza as a joke. And they're like, does Tony want to bring pizza? We can make room in the oven. It's like, absolutely not, Sarah said. My poor wife.
Fantastic. Trying to have some fun with this. But they're in the stress zone at that point. Like, yes. They're like, oh my gosh, we got to organize. Oh, we have 2 doubles of the the sweet sweet potatoes. Who are we gonna tell not to bring the sweet potatoes? Like, yeah.
And then I threw an extra wrench in by throwing pizza in the mix
Right. No,
for
you definitely did.
Thanksgiving dinner.
There's probably many discussions, about like how do we address Tony's wanting to bring pizza?
Right.
Make some room in the oven. How do we do this?
Yeah, but they should know me by now. I mean, they've only known me 30 years.
Right,
It's like, come on.
Right.
If I told you that, you'd instantly laugh. Like, oh yeah, Tony always wants pizza. He's
Right.
joking.
Yeah, we're not bringing pizza.
Yeah, no. All right, great show. Wow.
Yeah,
The
so those are
do's and don'ts.
And I would tell people, don't be afraid to forward this to your friends, because this is going to come out on Tuesday or Wednesday. It's going to be right before Thanksgiving. So pay it forward, help them out, get this out, make your children listen to it, maybe the grandchildren. This is going to help people out. That's what we're doing. We're thankful this time of year, and I think this is going to help people out.
That's great. Well, I'm thankful for you, Rob, and you allowing me to be on your show with you. I have so much fun every week. And I know we're thankful to our listeners and viewers. But that does it for today's episode of Ready, Aim, Retire with our host, Rob Kirvan.
All righty.